Hey guys, here we are, lesson number 6. We're going to skip lesson 5. We're going to go straight to lesson 6. This is in your book. We are going to be on page 45. So, learning targets, the I can statements. I can draw a tape diagram that represents a percent of increase or decrease. When I know the starting amount and the percent of increase or decrease, I can find the new amount. So here are scores from 3 different sports games from their last 2 games. Number 1, what do you notice about these team scores? What do you wonder? Which team improved the most? We'll explain your reasoning. So go ahead and pause, answer these 2 questions in your book on page 45, and then we'll get going. All right, hopefully you've had time to answer the questions. Question number 1, what do you notice about the team scores? Well, I noticed that all of the team scores went up by 8. Okay. Which team improved the most? You could say the baseball team improved the most because they went from 4 up to 12. That's 3 times the amount of scoring from game 1 to game 2. You could say the basketball team went up the most because they scored the most points overall. Okay, so there's really not a right or wrong answer for either one of these. Okay, just whatever you put would work. Okay, so if we turn the page, 46. It says, a cereal box now contains 20% more. Originally, it came with 18.5 ounces of cereal. How much cereal does the box come with now? Okay, there's a couple different ways we can do this. Okay, if you think of the original box, there was 100% of whatever in there. Okay, so we can start with 100%. And then we can add 20. Remember, more means plus. So if we go 100% plus 20%, that means we have 120% of the original. So all we have to do here is take 18.5 ounces, 18.5, and times it by 120%. Okay, not 120, but 120%. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. Okay, the calculators we have at school has a percent button. So in my calculator, I could just go 18.5 times 120 and then put the percent button after, okay? The percent button is above the 8. There's a parentheses there, and then above the parentheses in the space is the percent. So to get there, I have to use the second button on the calculator. So I could go 18.5 times 120% in my calculator. And if you don't have a calculator, to turn a percent just into a regular decimal, we just move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. So if you don't have a percent button, you can just go 18.5 times 1.2. They'll give you the same answer. Okay, so 18.5 times 120% is 22.2. So there's my answer, 22.2 ounces. Okay. Another way you could have done this is we just find 20% of 18.5, so we'd go 18.5 times 20%. Okay. If you have the calculator at school, you can just times it by 20%. If you don't have the calculator at school, you can move the decimal over twice. So it's really 18.5 times 2, 0.2, 18.5 times 0.2, and I get 3.7. So 3.7. So then I go 18.5 plus 3.7, because it's more, right? So we found 20%, it's 3.7, and we add that to 18.5. So 18.5 plus 3.7 will give me 22.2. So 2 different ways to do the problem. I don't care which way you do it. Just do the way that makes more sense to you. Okay. Number 2, the price of a shirt was $18.50, but you have a coupon that lowers the price by 20%. What's the price of the shirt after using the coupon? Okay. Well, we know 18.5 times 20% is 3.7 from problem number 1, right? So coupon means we're going to subtract. So we could go 18.5 minus 3.7 now. So we figured out what 20% of 18.5 was at number 1. but now instead of adding, we're subtracting because we have a coupon. So if we go 18.5 minus 3.7 in a calculator, I get 14.8. Okay, now we're talking money, so we're going to add a 0 there. So the new price of the shirt is $14.80. Another way to do this is if we always start with 100% and a coupon is 20% off, that means we're going to take off 20% from 100%, we get 80%. So I can go 80% times 18.5. Okay, so in my calculator, 80%, or 0.8 if you don't have a percent button, times 18.5 is 14.8 again. Okay, so two different ways to get the same answer. Do whatever way you like best. All right, 6.3, we start talking about tape diagrams. Okay, so these little things down here, right here, these are tape diagrams. It's just a visual representation of the problem. It says, match each situation to a diagram. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. Compared with last year's strawberry harvest, this year's strawberry harvest is a 25% increase. So we're adding 25%. So if we look here, we start with the original on both of them, and then it looks like A, we add 25%, B, we take away 25% because it's in the original 100. So we're increasing. Increasing means we're adding. So little a goes with capital A. Letter B, this year's blueberry harvest is 75% of last year's. Well, if last year's 100% and we take away 25%, so that's capital B. We're taking away 25%. Okay. Letter C, compared with last year, this year's peach harvest decreased by 25%. So once again, we're decreasing, we're taking away, so B. And letter D, this year's plum harvest is 125%. So we're adding more, so A. Okay. Number 2, draw a diagram to represent these situations. This is on page 47 in your book. The number of ducks increased by 40%. So we just need to draw a tape. It doesn't matter how long it is or big it is. So there's my tape diagram, and then it says it increased by 40%. So 40%, if I draw a dotted line, that's about halfway, right? So it's going to be almost that big, something like that. Okay, doesn't have to be exact, just there you go. Okay, the number of mosquitoes decreased by 80%. So if I draw my tape diagram, there's 100%. We're decreasing by 80%, so we'll say about right there. So that's really all you got to do to draw tape diagrams. They're not very hard. They're just a visual way to see the problem. Okay. 6.4, do you agree or disagree? So this is on page 47. It says employee A gets a pay raise of 50%, employee B gets a pay raise of 45%, so employee A gets the bigger pay raise. Go ahead and hit pause, see if you can agree or disagree with that. All right, hopefully you've agreed or disagreed, and I say it depends. If they're both making the same amount of money, yes, employee A gets the bigger pay raise. But if employee A is making $1 and gets a pay raise of 50%, that's just 50 cents. So they go from $1 to $1.50. But if employee B is making $20 an hour, and 45% of $20 an hour is $9. Okay, so it just depends on how much money they're making. If they're making the same amount, yes. If they're making different amounts, it depends. Number 2 says, shirts on sale are for 20% off. You buy 2 of them. As you pay the cashier, 20% off each shirt means 40% off the total price. What do you guys think? Okay, once again, the answer is no. It is not true. You just can't add up the percentages off and then take it off of the whole price. That would be really nice, because if you had 6 shirts, that would be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120% off, okay? 120% off means that they're going to pay you instead of you paying them for whatever, okay? And that's not going to happen at any store. They're not going to pay you to come buy their shirts. So that cashier will probably not be working at that store very much. And with that, we're done. So if we look at the summary, this is on page 48, the bottom of page 48. It says, imagine that it takes Andre 3/4 more time than it takes Jada to get to school. Then we know that Andre's time is 1 3/4, or 1.75 times Jada's time. We can also describe this in terms of percentages. So we have Jada's times at 100%, and then Andre's time is 100% plus 75, so it's 175. We can say that Andre's time is 75% more than Jada's time. We can also see that Andre's time is 175% of Jada's time. So two different ways to say the same thing. In general, the term percent increase and percent decrease describes an increase or decrease in a quantity as a percentage of the starting amount. For example, if there are 500 grams of cereal in the original box, 20% more means that we're going to take 20% of 500 and add it to the mix. So 20% times 500 is 100. So 500 plus 100 is 600. So there's 600 grams of cereal in the new package. Okay? And then we can see that the new amount is 120% of the original because they make a tape diagram and they show it to you. So for our assignment today, it's not going to be in the book. It won't be in Canvas. It'll probably be a link to a GIM kit to just work on increases and decreases. Let me know if you have any questions.